Today I've got some great questions about basically ash cakes and soldier food in general. Thanks for joining us today on Questions and Answers with James Townsend and Son. The first quick question is from the Southwest Edible Garden. She says, and this is on another Hasty Pudding. She says, it would remind me of what would be called a cross between a dumpling and a bread pudding. So yes, the question is cold grated butter a workable substitute for the suet based on getting them made and into the boiling water quickly? And the answer would be not really. I mean, no matter what you do with the butter, it isn't going to leave the little pockets. It will give you some moisture in your dumplings and, give them some oily, nice, yummy butter flavor, but it won't do what the suet does, which is create little pockets and holes, almost like a leavening effect that you get from suet. So, I have yet to find a really good substitute for suet. You just gotta make your own, or you can get some from our online store, or but to make them right, you should really try suet. And I'll make sure to put a link down in the description section to this suet that we have available. So if you're interested in really finding out what those puddings are supposed to be like, definitely try it out. Here is a comment and question by Mariala from the most recent video that we did on soldier cooking. Hard to imagine eating bread without salt. Sounds awful. I've heard of ash cakes. Maybe some sorts of ashes add a better flavor than plain unsalted dough. And then they go on. I wonder whether a soldier might have been able to carry a bit of sourdough starter with them to help things be more bready. I don't know what they would carry it in. And then later on down here, they're talking about the beef. That the bony and highly connective tissuey beef would be awfully tough, but cooked boiled in a pot would make a very nice broth. But then they're questioning what kind of pots they would have. So let me kind of take these in order. Number one, ash cakes are called ash cakes because they're cooked on the ashes or on the coals. They didn't necessarily add ashes into the dough that I've ever seen reference to. Sometimes you do see references to ashes being used with corn to release the nutrients with the Indians, but not in the ash cakes here. This is just how they're cooked, not what's being cooked. Number two, sourdough starter. These soldiers, especially in the Revolutionary War, were not skilled. They were all primarily young and were not good cooks. And sourdough wasn't that necessarily popular, at least with the English. I mean, obviously, you're going to have more sourdough in North America than you would in England. But they wouldn't have had those kind of skills, and they probably wouldn't have had the time or any of that kind of equipment they would have needed. So no, they just made their flour up with water or salt and they cooked it, and that's it. And as for the cooking the beef and a pot, there's been several questions here recently, and I will do a special episode, a Monday cooking episode, where we will cover camping, specifically soldier cookware or cookware that people would have used when they were, on the go. So make sure to stay tuned for that episode coming up. Again, on this simple soldier food, it's Tom Stevens, and he says, I have read and thoroughly enjoyed Joseph Plum Martin's book. I haven't yet tried making ash cakes per se, but I have on multiple occasions made what I call hawk cakes by mixing the flour and water, sometimes with a little cornmeal, and cooking them on the blade of my tomahawk. In your research, have you ever come across any documentation of this in the 18th century? Yes, you do see references to cooking things like hoe cakes on hoes and other tools. I can quite imagine that somebody would use a tomahawk or a small belt axe for cooking something on if they if that's the way they want. I mean, they cooked on griddles and that sort of thing. So I think it's an obvious idea. You would, of course, have to think about what it might do to your tomahawk, both damaging your handle and losing the temper on your blade. But most likely, tomahawks and tools in the 18th century probably weren't made of any great steel that held any great hardness, and so might not damage their tomahawks to any great extent. So that's what I got for you on that one. The last one is Dan of the Wild, and he says, I took to looking for some books about Joseph Plum Martin. I've seen one of your other videos about hardships of having food at the time and wanted the best version of his writings. On Amazon, there are tons of different versions of his memoirs and stuff. What's the best, most complete one? And the one that we sell is this one. It's the Dover edition, and it's a great version of this one. So that's what I would probably go with. I also have an Acorn copy, but I don't think it's in print. So I don't know that any of these are excerpted or abridged. So I would think probably any of the versions you get are going to be the complete book. If you're interested in getting the book from us, I'll make sure to put a link down in the description section of the text. I want to thank everyone for all the great comments that come in and the wonderful questions. You are so kind in all the great comments, and it really encourages us and helps us continue to do videos. So I want to thank everyone out there for all your kind encouragement, and thanks for watching. If you're a new viewer and you haven't subscribed, press the subscribe button up here. That'll take you to a spot where you can subscribe. That really is the best way to get notification of all the new videos that are out. I want to thank everyone for watching.